What's up, Pinball World? Welcome to In Before the Lock, episode 12. We're a couple minutes behind, but I think we're here, and we've got Tom from Diddy's Mods. What's up, Tom? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Can you hear me okay? I can hear you.
Yeah, everything sounds good.
Good deal. Davey, can you hear us? For now.
Yeah, so sorry everyone. I think we were like a minute to go, weren't we? And then suddenly like all my Bluetooth stuff dropped out.
We were so close. We were so close. Well, I'm gonna give a little check and make sure we're live. And we are live. So yeah, so we got an exciting show. I don't know if you guys know Diddy's Mods, but they do some amazing stuff for Godzilla, which is a big one for them. Lots of new stuff from Jaws. I think have you done anything for Foo, or is it just those two?
We did a couple things for Foo. We did the shooter rod, Foo Fist, which was a good one, and then we did Foo Pigeons, and that's about it. Like we kind of went on from Foo and went to Jaws, and we have Mando stuff and Avengers stuff, but our main stuff is Godzilla.
Awesome. Well, we got a bunch of questions for you. We're also going to be doing some questions from the audience too. So we're hoping that you guys will tune in with some of your questions. So we're going to talk a little bit about John Wick because we do have a reveal coming tomorrow, which is super exciting. I mean, I feel like Jaws was just here, and now we've already got another one. Keeping the mod makers busy. We got a bunch of questions for Tom, as I said, and then we want your guys' questions. We're going to be talking a little bit about these guys in a competitive way because they both make a ton of amazing stuff for Godzilla. I know that I've got something from both of these guys, so I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about, what some of my favorites are, and if anybody else wants to chime in too, we'd love that. Do post your questions in the chat. We're going to hit your questions in this fifth section. Tom's going to join us for it's a mod world. Davey's got some cool stuff in his shop to show off, and then so we'll wrap it up. To start things off, Tom, can you just kind of tell us a little bit about you and where you hail from? We'd love to know about your background.
Yeah, so I am from Cleveland, Ohio. Go Cavs right now. We're getting ready to play Boston, so it's going to be a tough series, but we got through all that. But my background basically in pinball hobby is I've been in the hobby for about 12 years. My first game was Haunted House, which basically almost got me out of the hobby because it was always broken. And I couldn't fix it.
You still got it. We can see it behind you.
Actually, that's a different one. That one actually works. So you know how like games come and go, and then you sell something. You're like, man, I wish I didn't sell that game. So Haunted House came back. A lot of my games like that I have sold back when I was first getting into the hobby. I could only have like one or two games, and then you want to play other stuff, so things have to go. But now the collection is more stable, I would say, where it's like I have my games, and then I have the business games for like modding and stuff like that, and those games kind of come and go as they need to. But basically,
the business games, I like that, Davey. Is that a term you've heard before?
No, but I feel it. I feel it in my heart when you describe it.
I mean,
it's interesting you should say that they go. Like, I've struggled to part with any of my business games because it's kind of like, well, not in the sense that, like Godzilla, for instance, right? Like,
Godzilla's great.
Recently, I haven't played Godzilla in about 6 months because it's just playfield up, playfield down, playfield up, playfield down, and it's just one of those things. You sort of, like I love Godzilla because of what it's provided us in a lot of ways. Like it's a modder's dream, but in terms of playing it, I haven't played it for 6 months, which is a real pity. But at the same time, I feel like I can't get rid of it either, just because of what I owe it.
Right. I mean, with Godzilla, I'm in the same boat. Like my Godzilla hasn't been together in 6 months. Like ever since like the Drake came out, like I never put it back together. And then I have like one more building that I'm working on. So again, like it's sitting over here like in pieces, and I'm like, at some point. But like Avengers and Mando, like those games those games, once I was done with them, like I can't have like 20 games in my basement, and what am I doing with all this stuff? But like, and like, even with like Jaws is great, but can I justify like keeping it over like something I really want? So, but that's business games like that, and that's what I tell.
Get better at that. I gotta get better at losing stuff.
We're too late. You're too late, guys. I mean, Jaws is already gone. Like, we've already got another game here. So because this is the hot topic, I wanted to cover this. I mean, are you guys? I think we all kind of probably knew if we were paying attention, this is what was coming. Are you in any way excited, or are you just kind of in a wait and see mode right now?
I'm waiting. I'm wait and see. I've already told my distributor I'm wait and see. Like, I love the movies. I just don't know how it transitions into pinball. Like,
I think one thing I'm kind of excited about is that they're not going to go comic book style on this. Like, I wouldn't think anyway. And I feel like it's been a while since we've seen them do something that's like actual photography. Like, are they going to go with photography? Because that hasn't worked really well, in my opinion, in the past. Bond was still a little bit, illustrated. So I think just from an art perspective, I think this is a bit of a different challenge for these guys.
Right. I think for like the feel of the game, it's got to be like grimy and dark and like adventurous. Like, how does that translate? Like, all the Stearns games are kind of like bright and airy and vivid colors. We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow.
Has there ever been a modern sort of grimy game though, if you know what I mean? Like, I mean, just by virtue of having sort of colourful LEDs, I suppose. It's very difficult to sort of get away from that and make it sort of dark and grimy, I think.
Right.
Right. Which is it goes into exactly what you're saying. Like, does a dark and grimy theme translate well to pinball at all? Can you get away with it? And if so, how do you do it in a way that sort of
And it's also like, if you guys remember like Max Payne, which was the video game, I feel like it's kind of like John Wick, but it doesn't, like, Max Payne was all about the noir, and like it had this like visual style to it. And I haven't watched all the John Wick movies, but I'm not seeing that as much there. So I'll be really curious. I mean, hopefully the art's the least important piece, but I think always like that's the key thing, that brings it all together, potentially. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm not familiar with the movies at all. I haven't seen them, so I'm going to be doing some research over the next couple of weeks to try and watch them. I mean, I was chatting on one of our UK group chats earlier. Big ups Collie, who's here on the chat. He's part of that group, and Cole was recommending watching at least the first 3 because he said they're really great films. So I'm going to get deep into them.
Yeah.
And people on the forums have been saying that there's a lot of neon and stuff in them. Which I liked the sound of, at least in terms of a business games perspective.
Right.
So will you guys, I mean, you clearly probably don't have it on order like you may have had Jaws. Will you guys real quickly think about what to build for this, or you just kind of really, I mean, obviously you got a lot going on, maybe total wait and see as far as mods as well.
I think for me, it's a wait and see. I'm already, I'm already like 4 games deep, like, of stuff that I want to make that I can't get done because of, Jaws comes out. Then I got to make stuff for Jaws, and I still have stuff I want to do for Jurassic Park or Venom or even Bond. Like, I get messages once a week, twice a week about the James Bond Tower for the premium and LEs. And we're 90% there to showing it and releasing it. But like, another game comes out and like, do I go chase what's in my head now for ideas? Or do I finish off what I need to get done. And that's the hard thing, like, to me, is like that balance of, I want to make new stuff. For me, the best feeling is making something new, showing it does really well, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my God, I got to make 200 of these now. Or I gotta,
like, you don't like painting 200 things in the same way and putting them in boxes and making sure that the labels are all addressed to the right people. And you don't like that bit? That's the best bit.
No, that bit sucks. My wife, I do all the creative stuff and the making of the stuff, and my wife handles all the messaging and all the shipping now. So if anyone messages us,
wrong end of the stick on that one, though.
She did. Yeah, she takes a lot of abuse for the messaging and the shop orders and stuff like that, keeping everything on the train tracks. Where like I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna go make this.
Shout out Tom's wife. Shout out Tom's wife for all that.
Jen is great. She keeps everything in line. So but
it's a lot of work to make hundreds of people happy. I know for me, we're doing toppers, at least it's a lower volume of customers. So mad respect to you guys on how that's collateral that just keeps building and building and building. So you guys are taking on a lot. Davey, we did get a request on your audio. Did you see that? Maybe jack it up a couple notches. Okay.
Who was it? I was. Dave the Train. Is my audio better than it was? If you could respond.
Dave the Train.
And hey to Lakari as well. We've got another UK person online. That's Claire. Hi Claire, how you going?
We got some love out there from John Peterson. What's up, John?
Oh yeah, I love a bit of John. Hey John, how are you, man?
Oh, you love him too? I love John.
Everybody.
He's super helpful.
Yeah. Let's spread the love.
So let's get into some Q&A, Davey. I think you're next up on our little doc behind the scenes here. What do you got for Tom? He's got a lot to share with us.
So Tom, all right, man. So my first question was, mate, is this your full-time gig now?
It is my full-time gig, yeah. So my real job was I was a retail store manager for 25 years. And then COVID kind of happened. And I was kind of at that point where in my life where I wanted to do something different. And I'd always been creative in doing things and stuff like that, like cosplay or model railroading, building models when I was a kid or even as an adult. And my wife had bought me a 3D printer for Christmas about, 4 years ago, right? So I started to tinker around with it. And there was another mod company when Avengers came out. They had asked for ideas on making mods. And basically what happened was I suggested that they make like a Black Panther for the Avengers. And they were like, well, we don't think it's possible. It can't be done. And I didn't know nothing about 3D printing. My wife had bought it for me for Christmas. So basically what I did was I started to watch like YouTube videos on 3D printing. And over time I started to understand how to 3D print, and then watching how to use like CAD programs, starting with Tinkercad, going to Fusion 360, using Blender and stuff like that. And then the first mod I had made it personally for myself, which was the pin building for Avengers. And I was super excited. And like I was saying before, the first time, whenever you make something, you're like, you want to show it. Like, oh, this is great. So I showed like my pin building for Avengers. And like everyone's like, oh, that's awesome. That's cool. How much? And I'm like, how much? Like, what? I was like, I don't know, whatever. And like within like 24 hours, I had like 36 orders of this building I had made. And I was like, okay, well, and this was right before COVID. I'm like, well, I guess there's something there. So I started to make the pin buildings, and somebody on Pinside had asked me to make like, on Avengers, there's that hoop ramp, right? And like everyone was like, had that difficulty of shooting that shot that goes up over the Captain Marvel. So someone had asked me to design a 3D piece because they were wedging like Lexan in between the ramp and that hoop to make the shot easier. And I was making Avengers building, or I was making the pin buildings. I was like 36 of these. I'm like, this is great. And like somebody kept on like bothering me. Hey, can you just make like a 3D piece that goes in there? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So eventually I get around to it like 3 weeks later, and I make it, and I was like, I put it in the game, and I was like, okay, well, it actually works. It shoots a lot better now. The ramp is like more accessible, whatever. I show it. I'm like, yeah, like $20. Dude, the first week, I think I sold like 100 of them. And I was like, what the hell? Like, it's like, and it, like, to this day, like, it's funny. It's like a small little piece, but to this day, like, I sell those like 10 a month for Avengers. Like, it's just crazy.
I wonder what percentage of Avengers now has that in their game, which is something I always wonder about the Tokyo Neon as well. Like, what's the percentage of games that actually, have that mod in? Like, your most popular or your most successful or whatever.
Right.
I mean, the amount that you've sold now. I mean, Avengers wasn't a massive seller, was it? But it was probably middle to high, I would have thought, like, I'd guess.
Yeah. I mean, that piece was just so cheap and inexpensive, and it was a fix. Like, it wasn't like even like a mod, in my opinion. Like, it was just, and it wasn't like Keith designed it wrong or anything like that. And I'm not saying that at all. Like, it definitely helps that shot feel better and get up through that ramp. Like, if it rattles a little bit, now it has like something to hit off and get through. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, we've sold, it's crazy. Like, so many of those. I mean, those little pieces, those Captain Marvel ramps, would put the Tesla towers to a run for sure.
Really?
That would, like, it was crazy.
It's always the one you don't think about. Like, I never would have pinned, if I had to guess, like, what has been your biggest seller, that one wouldn't have even appeared on my list.
Well, it's funny because we did this little loop fix for the Bond girl multiplier, and I put off taking it on for a long time, but people kind of kept on talking about it, and then someone finally did it. I forget his name, and he let me kind of mass produce it, so to speak. And it's kind of a similar situation where it's like literally sold hundreds of those things. Very, very inexpensive item, but it's just like they keep trickling in, and it's fun to watch how people discover this stuff too, because they kind of come on Pinside and they complain about the problem, and all the people are like, oh yeah, you know this thing, right? And it's like it's one of those items that probably should have came from the manufacturer, but at the end of the day, it's not you don't have that problem on every single machine, so kind of fascinating.
That's funny.
So what's next?
Rob?
You got another question, Davey? You want me to go?
Yeah, I've got another one.
Well, I want to talk about some of your biggest, sellers or most popular items, just so, because I know not everybody knows who they're buying from all the time or what these things are. So this is the Drake building, which is a replacement building for, I believe, the Pro Godzilla. Is that correct?
No, that's for the premium.
Oh, this is for the premium. Okay. So I know this has been a really popular one for you. How long has this been out?
I think that we're almost a year, maybe.
Oh, let me meet
almost.
that. A year. Okay, gotcha.
I think that was late July. I think last year.
Yeah. So obviously you've shipped a lot of these. Has the product evolved since you've shipped the early ones, or is it kind of the same? How's it been, once you actually got this in the market?
It's actually, it hasn't evolved at all. Like it's basically, once it went to market, it went through a lot of testing, and, it was something that I was working on from like day one with the premium, and just couldn't figure it out. Cause the tolerance levels on the side of that play field, to be able to get anything through there is just so tough.
What did the thickness of those side parts end up being, Tom? Is it 2 mil?
I think it's 3 mil, something like that.
Yeah, not much to work with when you're talking about strength, is it?
No, not at all.
Could be very careful.
That was the thing. like I got the building out and I looked at it and I was like, man, there's like no room for details here. And it sat there like on my workbench with the plastics on for like a month. And I just like looked at it and I'm like, there's nothing I can do. But then when you take the plastics off, you start to see like cavities inside where you can actually, and like on the right side of the building, that's where you can do like the UFO and stuff like that. You can do like the stuff on the inside. So that's where like, okay, now we got something. Now we can kind of start moving forward. But that's how it is. Like, you know, it's just a problem that has to be figured out.
Yeah, within the constraints of somebody else's design, right? Like, and that's kind of always obviously we're coming at it from the perspective where we can do whatever we like because we're not constrained by committees and things like that. So you can be as creative as you like, but you do have to work within the bounds of somebody else's specification. You know, like you can't start moving holes around on playfields and stuff like that, can you?
Right. And then you have to be able to make it where it's easy enough for the customer to put it together and get it into their, like, soldering and like that. It's got to be all plug and play nowadays. Like especially with so much the influx of new people coming into pinball, which is great for our hobby. But you have to make it as easy as possible for them to install their stuff. And that's why, like, with us, we do all our install on video on YouTube. So, like, if there's any, like, concerns, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this before I buy it. Okay, well, then go check out the video. You can watch the video, and you can go step by step by step installing it. And that's the biggest feedback we get from our customers is, like, hey, we love the videos that you put out for the installation. It makes it a lot easier for us because we can just follow along, pause the video, go to the next step, and so on and so on. So, yeah.
I'm quite lucky. So, I have a guy in the UK who puts together installation videos for me sometimes when he finds the time. And I'm very appreciative of it because, as you say, customers just absolutely, really respond to a video demonstration.
Right.
So both of you guys do a lot of stuff for Godzilla, for good reason. A lot of units out there. How many different mods do you have for Godzilla right now, Tom?
We have. Well, for the premium, we have, what is it? 4, and then for the pro, we have 5. Yeah, 5.
And so this is is it the Negli? How do you pronounce that? Negli building?
The Neagle building.
Neagle building. Okay. Neagle oil, and there's some cool customizations here with the sign you can do. Did this one come before the previous one or after?
Yeah. So yeah, that was the first main building that we did. I mean, we did the Drake. We did the Drake for the pro, and then we did the bridge, and then I always felt like on the pro, like with my mod or anyone else's mod, like that bridge just kind of like dumps out, and there's like nothing there. It just kind of goes down the habit trail, and I felt like there needs to be like, if you got it coming across the bridge, like there needs to be something there, like, and just the way the wireform worked out, like fortunately it went straight, so I was able to design a building that kind of blends everything together.
So this is the Nagel building, and then you've got your bridge in this, and then we've got the pro Drake building. Is that what we're looking at here? Yep.
That's all 3, and then the Tesla towers. And then we have a fighter also. And then we'll have, hopefully here soon, one building.
So Davey, he's done 3. Where is your 3rd? Is my audio completely warped at this point? Maybe it is. All right. Well, we'll move over to Jaws because I know you've done a decent amount of stuff for that so far. This is the Lighthouse Tower.
Yep. That's the Lighthouse. We just wrapped up all our pre-orders for that. That's now available in our shop. So it's a cool piece. And we did the interactive thumper bumper barrel for the pop bumper, which was kind of a cool piece.
Yeah, I was
So
going
how
to
long
ask you
did
some
this one take
questions on
to?
that. I'll
Yeah,
go
go
on.
ahead.
You go
Go
first,
ahead,
Rob.
Davey.
You go first.
No, I was just gonna say real quick, like how much time did you spend in R&D on this one? Was this something that was able to turn around pretty quick, or?
That was it turned around pretty quick. Like once I had like, well, I would say once I had the idea and like I had the image of what I wanted to do, I would say like the hardest part was the brickwork for the lighthouse, because like the lighthouse is made out of bricks in the movie and in real life. So just I didn't have to lay every single brick in Fusion, but yeah, it's you know it's the pain. But then like painting it and doing it piece by piece, you know.
So there's been an interesting question pop up on the chat, which is, do you and I, Tom, ever have friendly conversations about what we're working on for a particular game without stepping on each other? Which is, yeah. I mean, look, to answer the question, definitely. Most of the modders do, like the ones that know each other, definitely have conversations behind the scenes, and it's not just about stepping on each other's toes and things. It's just it's questions about processes. It's just showing off stuff some of the time. So I've got a couple of questions here. I remember last time we were talking, Tom. Well, I'll get onto that one in a sec, but I did ask you a question recently, didn't I, about the thumper bumper, which you mentioned earlier, which is a mod for the single pop bumper on Jaws that has a do you call them buoys, those yellow things? Are they buoys as well?
I would think barrel or buoy. I think it's a barrel.
Okay, yeah, barrel. Okay, a barrel. And so the pop bumper gets hit, and there's like a mechanical action where the barrel pops up and down, doesn't it? And it's in a lovely resin piece, a blue resin piece that looks like water. And I was very interested in that resin piece because obviously that was something that I was looking at for the buoy of death as well.
Right.
And obviously they're both in positions where there's going to be a lot of ball actions. They have to be tough and withstand, ball hits and stuff. So, I very kindly asked you if you wouldn't mind sharing your processes in making that.
Right.
So you mentioned it was resin, and it was sort of like a composition of a couple of different resins. So I guess my question is, did you 3D print that, or did you mold and cast it? How did you do that?
Yeah, it's 3D printed. Yeah, it's 3D printed. I designed it, and then I printed it in regular resin, and then I printed it. Then I was like, all right, well, like it needs like some sort of strength with it also. So I was kind of like looking for something that could take an impact from a ball, and then I found that Sarai Tech blue, which is pretty heavy duty stuff that can impact it, and plus it's pretty beefy piece. So and then I used that with regular blue resin. I blended it with the Sarai Tech, and then I added a splash of food coloring to give it that nice nice dark blue.
All the best water has food coloring in it.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we've chatted a lot before, haven't we, on different mods that we've been producing at different times. I mean, you mentioned earlier about Jurassic Park and how you've still got some mods for Jurassic Park that you want to focus on at some point. And Rob mentioned, when we were sort of putting these questions together about, what is the process that's involved in deciding whether to bring a mod to market? Because we've always got, things on the go. Some stuff you abandon, some stuff just gets put on hold until you've got time for it. I've got my own reasons for, focusing on certain things and prioritizing certain things, but what thought processes do you go through?
I think for me, like the time, like how much time is, like you saw the aviary for Jurassic Park. Like I showed you the pictures of it, and then it's an amazing piece. but there's a lot that goes into it. So then, like, okay, like, do I really want to make these, and then how much do I really want to charge? Because I'm not going to charge you $600 for a mod. Like, that's not me. Like, I want everybody to enjoy my stuff. Like, the stuff I make, I want to make it so everyone gets to enjoy it. It's in basically everyone's price range, like, whatever. But then on the flip side, like, if it takes me, you know, a full day only to like get like 2 or 3 of these things done, that's really tough. Like, where I could be working on something else.
Yeah. And it's a more effective use of your time, and you can get more out there. And have you? So that particular Jurassic Park one that you've shown me, that's something that you haven't revealed in the JP owners thread or anything like that?
No. There's only been a few people that have seen it. So I'd like to focus on that after we get through the James Bond Tower. You know, as long as John Wick's nothing like, oh my God, I have to get John Wick.
You better hope that it's shit, man. Yeah. Randy asked another question. Just quickly,
real
sorry,
quick,
Rob.
I'm gonna talk over you because I'm curious now.
Okay, go on.
Ton of Jurassic Park fans. You've basically just semi-revealed this. Can you describe it to us or tell us where it goes? We want to know if we can fit it in.
Right, yeah. You'll fit it in. There's definitely space where it goes. So,
okay.
How I always saw like that right side ramp, the circle ramp, right?
Yep.
It goes up and then comes around. I always and that's I say pterodactyl, but it's like peloton or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've always felt like, and this is my thinking, like with the lighthouse, with the Tesla towers, like how can I add to the game that this could have been in the game? You know, like I'm not like replacing flat plastics or anything like that. Like this could have been in the game, but it got caught for cost, like the lighthouse or the Tesla towers or the Neagle building. Like, so with Jurassic Park, the aviary, like I always felt like that circle ramp, like that's what that was supposed to be, like this big giant like cage. So it's basically a cage that goes on top of that habit trail and follows it around, and it's all wire mesh and it's broken open, and there's a guard tower up on the right side, and then on the bottom there'll be like the Jurassic Park like doors, you know, the big stone doors and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a cool piece.
Tom, you know that I've been getting asked about Jurassic Park recently as well on the JP owners thread. People wanting like electrified fences and stuff, doing like LED animations. So let's set the pinball world on fire and say we're going to do a collaboration or something, and then never follow through.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to do it.
Yeah. No, we're not.
We'll make one.
Yeah, and it just goes way too hard. Oh, cool, man.
All right, well, now that we got that reveal, go ahead.
Sorry, Rob.
Go for it,
somebody asked quickly whether the resin on the buoy of... I keep saying boy. It's so difficult to convert from UK to US. The buoy of death will match the barrel thumper. Yeah, I mean, that's a really cool idea. We're not actually using the same product in the end, just because I sort of found a supplier who could do something different. They're doing like vac formed resin, like a vac formed tough resin, and it was just easier for me to do it that way. But in terms of getting the color right between mine and Tom's, a really cool idea. And I was having a look at it again today, Tom, before doing the show, and it is a really awesome piece. I'm going to make sure I pick up one of those off you. And I've still got some painting to do on that resin piece anyway, so I'll try and match those blue colors.
I think, from what I saw, the color is pretty close.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, the thing is, you can't go too dark with that stuff, so it always ends up being sort of like an aqua-y color anyway, just for light diffusion. If you go too blue, then nothing really shines through effectively.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll just be the exact same color anyway.
Yeah.
All right, you got a question, Rob?
Yeah, sure. So, we're always like, as mod makers, looking to expand our repertoire. Are there any disciplines or like new things that you're looking to do in the future, or you feel like you've kind of got your tool set down?
I mean, I definitely want to expand. Like I talked to Davey about this, like expanding my knowledge on like the kind of RGB stuff that he does with his LEDs, like learning like because my stuff's basically Comet Matrix stuff, LEDs, like plug and play, like figuring out how to get those to work for what I need to do. Where Davey kind of is, with his LEDs are top notch. I mean, like it's just phenomenal the stuff he can do, all programmable. He can kind of do whatever he needs to do and work around building out his mod that way, where I'm confined to light strips or fire posts and stuff like that. So that's basically, I'm hoping this year I can kind of like, I've played with the RGB and the programming and stuff like that, but I still don't kind of completely 100% understand how to get it to interact with the game, the modes and stuff like that. So that's where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, Davey, I know you're making some really good progress on that with your Jaws mod. Are you feeling like you've kind of cracked a little bit of the code on that, not so to speak, or is it still?
Yeah, well, because I sent you something earlier in the week, didn't I, on RGB color sensing, which we were going to cover during this podcast, but I think we're going to run out of time, aren't we? So maybe we'll take a look at it next week. But essentially, Jaws has RGB GI, general illumination. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's sort of two types of lighting in a pinball machine. There's what's referred to as the inserts, which are sort of flashing lights to tell you, to shoot a certain thing or put the ball in a certain direction or whatever it is, just to give you some information about where you are in the game. And then there's this other type of lighting called general illumination, or GI, that light the game up in order for you to see it. And historically on all games, that's been one color, unless the user, the customer, the player has changed those white LEDs for purple or blue or whatever. But on the modern Stern games like Jaws, Stern have now taken an RGB approach or a coloured approach to that GI lighting, so that most of the time it'll be white and light the game up, but in certain modes they can change it to be a different colour. Now, what I've always done with the GI lighting for my mods is to monitor that GI lighting, so that if it fades out during the end of ball or a multi-ball or whatever, then the mod follows suit. It's just a way of adding additional integration into the mod, so it looks like it's following what the game's doing. Now that the coloured GI has come out, that just adds another complexity to that, so that you need a way of working out not only is that light on or off, but also what colour it is. And there's actually a really simple way of doing it. I did think it was going to be really complicated. And it's one of those things that you spend sort of 10 minutes with and it just immediately works, which is pretty rare. But luckily it happened with this. But yeah, we'll have a look at that in a different show. Tom, last time was we talked, man. I think it was when we talked. I think we hooked up for that video call, didn't we? And and you're a golfer, aren't you?
I was out today. I played 18 today.
Okay, man, cool. Well, last time we spoke, you said that I think you went golfing that day or the day before or whatever, and you said to me that you didn't enjoy it because you just felt so guilty that you should have been at home making mods or something, that you were bunking off work effectively. Have you still got that issue, or have you worked out a way to like manage the mod grind better?
Well, I mean, like we're here in Cleveland, so 4 or 5 months out of the year it's cold and rainy and snowy. But like once the weather breaks, like my routine now is pretty much I get up about 6:30, have my coffee, have my breakfast, and then if the weather is good, I'll go out and play nine, walk it though, to get my exercise. And then I'll come home and I'll work for the rest of the day. Because I work from home. So if I didn't get out, I'd go stir crazy, or I'd drive my wife. It's crazy too.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions. Like, I mean, so your workshop is in your home, and it's just you and Jen working for Diddy's Pinball Mods at the moment.
Yep.
Is there any plans to expand either to an external workshop or get somebody in on assembly or?
I think at some point. So we live in the country, so we have 3 acres. So at some point there's going to be where I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to build an external shed so my work is not in my home. Because right now, like, I have my work area in the basement. That's like kind of my workshop area. But my printers and all that stuff is upstairs in the laundry room because of the wash basins and stuff like that. I'd like to get all that stuff out of that room because it's upstairs, it's across from the living room. So I clean my parts, I cure my parts. Guess where my parts end up? In the living room. Not in the basement.
Sure, Jen loves that. If she's anything like my wife.
Right. Yeah. So at some point that's going to be maybe in the fall, like right before the fall, I'm going to put like a storage shed or a barn, build a barn out there where I can have basically my whole workshop area and stuff like that, and that kind of gets me, it's only 500 feet away, but it gets me out of the house for the day.
It'll feel different, for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually in a work environment where, okay, time to go to work.
You can leave and close the door and go back to the house, and then work's over. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Where, like, company's coming over. All right, well, I got to clean up all these pieces and parts.
I know.
And then like company leaves, I'm like, where the hell are those pieces and parts? Where did I put all that?
Yeah.
Now I got to order more of those.
Yeah, I'm going through the exact same thing at the moment, and actually just signed a lease on a workshop in a close area in town. So not only does that mean I can set up all the pinball machines that have been tombstone for a while, sadly, but it also means, the same thing that you were saying, just that separation between work life and home life, which I think is super important. Right,
yeah. Because the minute, like, the way my mind works, like, the minute I'm always like a go kind of guy. Like, the minute, like, I'm not, like, if I'm sitting down and, like, nothing's going on, I'm like, I look up at, like, the work schedule, the work board, the orders and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, I could watch TV.
Yeah, or knock 10 of those off.
Or I could knock 10 of those off. I'm like, let me go knock 10 of those off.
Yeah.
And then it's like 11:30 at night and you're going to bed and you're like, not what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounding very familiar.
Well, we're going to keep it open. If anybody else has any other questions, please bring those in. Also, Tom's got a ton of stuff for a bunch of different machines. You can check out his Pinside shop. Is that where everything's available for your store, Tom?
Yeah. Yep. 100% of our stuff is in that shop right now.
Nice. And then he's also got a coupon code for free shipping. Just use in before the lock anytime between now and next Monday, and you'll get free shipping. So, Tom, thanks for extending that for everybody. If any more questions come in for Tom, we'll go ahead and try to jump to those. Davey, we're going to do It's a Mod World. Are you ready?
Yeah, play that intro, bro.
Let's do it, baby. rocking now, man. We are rocking.
I hope everybody liked that, because you're going to be getting lots of it.
Oh yeah, lots of it. We're gonna play it between every mod we show, just so it burns into our brain. So you got some stuff. Is this people sending you free things now, or are you actually paying for this stuff?
Mostly paying, but it's got to be said that some of them are free. Just because I like to, wield my power with an iron fist, and
probably some trades involved in there too, right? You got some trades going on.
Look, some of them are trades. Some of them people are very lovely and just insist on sending them to me for free, which is incredibly nice.
So Don, here's your chance. KFC delivered to Davey's door. He wants to see it.
Yeah. I will be bought out for a very small price. Let it be known.
All right. So you got your second cam going, and
Do you want to pull that over? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So here we have, but this is by Justin Euclid. This is for the Big Lebowski. This is the Doobie mod. So you can see I haven't been smoking while the show's been running, but anyway, this goes. I would show you, but I've got the cover on the Big Lebowski at the moment. But it goes essentially on the Shooter Lane cover on the Big Lebowski, and all of them have been hand rolled, lovingly hand rolled. The LED is like a flickering LED, so it looks like a blunt's burning there, and it's got its own little ashtray and stuff. So nice work, Justin. Very impressed by that, mate. I'm glad that I got it hooked up to power before I started the show, just so I could see the thing actually burning away. And then lovely Andrew sent me this one from Australia, even though I assured him I don't have a Bond yet. This is the... I can never remember the name of it. Help me out, Rob.
Scuba Kick.
It's the Scuba Kick mod for Bond. So Andrew goes by the name of Gumnut01 on Pinside. And then these guys created this, beautifully engineered and executed ramp for Bond, which solves, I've got to choose my words carefully here, because it created the biggest furor on Pinside when it came out. But okay, there's a shot on Bond that goes into the left scuba section where essentially there's a kick out, which is a little bit random, so it could go anywhere. Sometimes it goes straight down the middle. So these guys designed this so it was a bit more predictable. Essentially, it sits like that over the scuba kick, over the scuba area. And there's a coil in the game already, but they provide a coil bracket that then shoots the ball up this ramp and then onto another ramp, and it feeds the left in lane. I was so impressed with this too. Have a look at this as well. This is a laser etched. This is laser etched steel to look like the Bond barrel. Andrew said that this design was his contribution. He came up with a lot of ideas, but he said most of the engineering was done by Dave on this one. But this was his contribution, and that's a beautiful piece, and the whole thing is just very nicely packaged and executed, and just the wire form itself. I think it's been chromed. All the welds are really solid. It's a very beautiful piece here. Now you've got a Bond, don't you, Rob?
I do, and I want to give a shout out to Avid Creations, the guys that build this. Gumnut's like the hype man. He's out there getting it going, and he was a big part of creating it. But these guys do some really cool stuff. If you have a Twilight Zone, they've got some real custom ramps to where that ramp going across does like this spin, and I have a lot of respect for these guys because I've done some wireform creation for some of my stuff, and there's a ton of work so definitely check those out.
And not only that, but when this came out, so this is sort of you could lump this into what is now being affectionately known as the Cheetah Mods group or crew or whatever. And when this first came out, they copped so much flack in the James Bond owners thread. It was quite toxic for them, I think, and they managed it with grace and humility and humor, and I think I can't give them enough credit for sort of navigating those waters effectively, and still selling a bunch of these and still maintaining their dignity and humor and all that kind of stuff. I've spoken to Andrew quite a bit on PM, and he's a lovely dude. And they worked really hard on this, and I think they executed it really well. And I think when it comes to cheater mods, everybody's going to have an opinion on whether they're a good or a bad thing. But ultimately, I think we all agree that it's your game. You should be able to do what you want with it. And I know that when the time comes that I get a Bond, and I probably will, because it's getting such good reviews now after all the latest code updates and stuff. You can bet your ass that I'll be installing this bad boy on my Bond. Okay. Ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
Okay, man. So this is by Andrew Batch, or Vimto Man, as he's known on Pinside, and he's a UK guy. We talk all the time, Andrew and I. He's a lovely guy. He's done a bunch of mods for Halloween and Ultraman, I believe. This is for Batman 66. I think we covered his other Batman 66 mod. Might have been last week. That was the. Do you remember the little siren that goes over the penguin crane arm? So this is another one that he's been working on, and it's a ramp cover for Batman. I've actually got a Batman 66 en route at the moment, which I'm very, very excited about. It's the Catwoman edition, which I've been lusting after for many a year, so it's finally on its way. And I'll be fitting this to it. Apparently there's it's using sort of transparent PLA on these sections, so it's like super flexible. I think there's a bunch of different color options and decal options for these inserts as well. But it's really interestingly designed, just in terms of the fact that he's sort of sandwiched a piece of acrylic in between these sort of printed sections, I guess, which is what enables him to sort of provide a lot of different color options for that. So this one isn't out yet. He's just sent me this one for fit tests, actually, and I twisted his arm into, asked him if we could show it on the pod this week, and he said okay. There's still a bunch of fit things that he needs to get through before it's the final version. So this isn't the final version, but I wanted to cover it anyway, just in case anyone wanted to start getting hyped up about it.
It's really cool.
You ever had Batman, Tom?
I have not had Batman. No.
No, I want it though. It's a Gomez, right? Now that I've got my Bond, I kind of play these games and I start to feel, his vibe. I definitely want to pick that one up.
Right.
Yeah. So what's your love affair with Bond like at the moment, Rob?
Oh, I do. I love it very much. I mean, in terms of replayability, the Wizard mode just came out. You have to actually get through 24 modes. So my cheater scuba kick, I'm very appreciative for, to have some consistency in where the ball is going. And more is coming. Mike Vinacourt, MVX, who's on, he's got an MVX shot on Jurassic. I don't know if you guys know that term, but it's related to him. And he's at a lot of shows. He was at a show this weekend, I think Allentown, and he's like, people are asking him questions like, are these features coming? And he's out there in the community. So that's one really cool thing I like about Bond, is like, he's out there, actively promoting the game and talking to people about it, which I don't know if it's common for Stern, but it's definitely makes it a lot of fun to follow along with that.
It just seems to be it seems to have been on a bit of an upward trajectory for the last 6 months to a year or so. A little bit like Elton, but a little bit slower, I guess, in a lot of ways. We were going to talk a little bit about Elton too, weren't we, earlier in the show, but we didn't get around to it. But
yeah, I will kind of float that, Tom. I mean, I think most of the stuff you've done is for Stern. Like, what would it take for you to look at it, doing something for like an Elton, which it's number 2 on Pinside right now, and unlike what often happens with those ratings, I feel like it might stick up there. So how does that pique your interest, or how do you look at Jersey Jacks?
I have a GNR and I have a Toy Story. My Toy Story is actually en route. It never came home. But Elton, I think I love Elton. It's a great game. I dig the music. I saw him on his farewell tour.
Cool.
I think
you're like a target market though, man. You're like that's 2 for 2.
I know. The KO for me was though the price point. Like,
yeah,
I got murdered on Toy Story, right? Like, so I didn't want to take that risk again of losing my ass on a game that I didn't know how well it would be. But now that I've played it, and I got a lot of ball time on it, I would definitely pick one up on the secondary market, or maybe even a new box one.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an absolute banger. I think people are starting to learn that now. I mean, when I first played it at Expo last year, I was just blown away by it.
Right.
For me, it was the game of the show. And it just seems to be, the hype just seems to keep building. There's a lot of UK dudes who are, really hyping it up at the moment. I think it was at a show over here recently. But like you say, the price point's just a sticking point for most people.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people waiting for those secondhand games to hit the market.
Right.
But I think the lines are going to be quite long from
yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people waiting to have a crack on the secondary market, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at some point I would pick one up, and I think it's got some mod potential for sure. There's definitely opportunity there for some stuff.
Yeah.
But again, like, if I bring home another game, another work game, when do I get to it? Like, something has to be pushed down the line for me to work on Elton. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like it's just got to be the most amazing idea because the volume's just not there.
Right.
And it's a big risk to take on because, I mean, look, like if it was modded as much as it got, it's prime for modding in terms of all the stuff going on and so much more that could be there. But the volume is the kicker. Now on the other hand, like you could have made the same argument about Lebowski, but Davey and I have clearly made that decision, and in my case, I know you've got a long wait list, like it's panned out. So a lot of it's about analyzing the passion of those people too for that game, which I think like Pulp is another one where like the volume might be low, but you have a very passionate ownership base. So
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've not tested the water yet in terms of what the drop-off rate will be like for Lebowski. But what will be really interesting to see for me is, will there be a really low drop-off for those Lebowski mods in comparison to sort of the other stuff that I do? Just because the people who do have it are passionate about it.
Well, I think Lebowski is like one of those special games, though. It's one of those boutique-y diamonds in the rough that when it came out, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that's cute and unique." And now it's like, man, I really want that game. Like even I want that game. Like, but like again, like get in line. Like it's just it's a special game.
Yeah, I mean the story of Dutch Pinball, and the trajectory of the company and how close they came to utter destruction, and coming out the other side, and then expanding now, and with more games on the way. It's a really great story, for me at least. I mean, other people sometimes have a different opinion of that trajectory, but for me, especially within the context of Haggis now going under by the sounds of it, them sort of surviving, coming that close and coming out the other side untouched, well, not untouched, but at least with a viable business going forward, it was a really great one. So I'm super excited to see where Dutch goes, next, particularly if it's the game that we all think it is.
Back to the Future.
You're not supposed to tell anyone, man.
No. Everyone, it's the worst secret in the world.
Yeah. Have we got time for any more mod?
Yeah.
Mods?
You got one more for us?
I got two more. So let's quickly rattle through them.
Let's do it.
Okay. So what's this, guys? Do you know what this is?
Those are metal discs.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the Precision Pinball. So lovely John from Precision Pinball sent me these the other day. These are his machined aluminium spinning discs for Jaws. I'm really excited to get these in the game. I was going to install them the other day. I had like an hour or so to spare to get them in the game, but I thought I'd keep them out just so that we could sort of have a look at them for the show. And just whenever I get any of John's stuff, I'm always just blown away by the quality of the workmanship and the fact that he can do this kind of stuff. I mean, I know I've mentioned on the show before, but John's originally from the aeronautical industry, and the way he describes machining stuff like this is that it's just an easy thing for him to do. And for me, it's like black magic. It's kind of like, I don't know.
It's like the stuff that you do to me.
Yeah. Well, and before I got into circuit board work, I thought that was black. I guess it's like anything, isn't it? I mean, you sort of learn it, you learn the secrets, and then you do it a couple of times for yourself, and then it becomes a skill. But before that, you just think it's like, magic. That's what John's stuff is to me. Just the fact that you can do it. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to getting those in the game and testing.
What's the story? What's the story with the two different heights on the? Are those?
Oh well, one of them's for the. I don't know which is which. I hadn't actually noticed that until you pointed it out.
One's for the upper play field.
Yeah, exactly right. And look, you can. I didn't even notice this either, but there's this section here too. I don't actually know which is which. I think this is upper play field and this is lower, but don't quote me on that. And then finally, last one is this beautiful Afterglow board here. So, have you guys ever heard of the Afterglow boards?
No, I'm going to pull up a movie video. What's the deal?
Okay. Yeah, so Afterglow boards. So you've heard of the LED OCD board?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is essentially an open source version of the LED OCD. So this is probably about the, fourth or fifth iteration of the Afterglow board. But, if anybody not familiar with LED OCD boards either, is that they are designed to make LEDs in old games like old Williams, Bally, DE, System 11 games behave more like the original incandescents. And by that I mean, so an incandescent bulb is essentially a burning filament, and so it takes a while to heat up and to cool down. So when you turn on a filament bulb, there's a certain number of milliseconds that it takes to go to full brightness, and then a certain number of milliseconds that it takes to go back to zero again. How LEDs behave differently to that. They're a lot faster in getting turned on or off. So the result of that in an old game, when you switch out the incandescent bulbs for LEDs, is that they tend to be a lot harsher and a lot more on-off and quite hard on your eyes. So these boards aim to replicate that fading effect that you get with incandescents, but with LEDs. This is an open source solution for it as well. So Christoph publishes. Bitfield Labs is the name of his company, but his name's Christoph, and he publishes all the schematics for the boards, so you can print them yourself. All the code's open source, so you can install that on the boards yourself. You can build these yourself, basically. I quite often do build runs of them, just for people who aren't sort of comfortable with building their own boards. But I would highly recommend anybody who wants to get into circuit work to just have a look through this. Have a look through the GitHub repo for these things and get into it, because I was building these boards, Christoph's boards, before I actually got into building my own circuit boards and designing my own circuit boards. So it's a nice inroad to doing that, and an inroad into fabrication, inroad into ordering from JLC, PCB, and all of those kind of things. And there's a bunch of community people out there who have done it themselves and can give recommendations and stuff. And this is the latest revision of the board. It comes with lots of cool features like this, these different hats that you can put on the top. This is a debugging hat, so it's got like an LED matrix to show you where all of those. One for Davey on your iPhone. Yeah. Okay, so these boards are so popular that I do get a lot of requests from people, asking asking me to do more runs of them, basically. And I'm always saying soon, a month, or whatever it is. I'll probably, once these ones are finished, I'll do a run of them for everybody.
So clarify this for us then. So like this is an open source thing that different people sell, including you, if you can find time?
Yeah. Yep, okay. That's right. So I sort of put together a pre-packaged version if you were gonna build these yourself, you would have to get a number of boards fabricated. You'd have to navigate sort of the production process and all that stuff, and then you would have to crimp your own cables. And so essentially what I do is I sort of work with Christoph to offer limited production support for it, just so that it can get into people's hands a bit easier. Unfortunately, with the, popularity of all the other stuff that I do, these kind of get pushed to the side a little bit. But I always try and do maybe a couple of runs every year just to satisfy the demand for them, of which there's quite a bit.
Well, clearly, if you're showing it, you intend to do some of them eventually, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, Christoph sent me this one, and I'm always excited when he sends me stuff. He's a very clever dude. And he's always been super open and friendly, and he's just a great asset to the pinball hobby.
So, Tom, we got to know what did we hear in the background? What was talking to us? Anything fun?
I think it was Indy 500.
Okay, that's right. Okay, some people were trying to nail it down, I'm sure. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Tom, thank you so much for being here with us. So many people that watch this show know your stuff. I had people asking me, like, well, what does he actually look like? Who is Tom? We want to see him in person. So that's super exciting. Guys, check out his shop on Pinside. He's got free shipping. Just put in before the lock as the code. Thanks, Tom, for setting this up. And we'd love to have you back sometime. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Davey, any parting words? Oh, wow, we lost his audio now. We didn't have it. We were late. Now it's completely gone.
I was on mute. That was my fault. Okay. I was just on mute. It's because my machine started going into airplane mode in the background. So I muted myself.
We all know that. We're good. All right. Well, thank you guys. A great show. We got another episode in 2 weeks. I think we may have another guest. We're working to line it up, but we'll have great content for you either way. So we'll see you then. Have a good night, all.
Bye, guys.